Tom, I just want to, so I think we're going to get started. I just want to confirm you can still hear us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, so we
A
will.
reminder to everyone, make sure to talk into your microphones so Tom can hear you. You have to activate and press the push button, turn it green, so that Tom will be able to hear you and others joining online.
And we just got another call-in user. All right. We will call the meeting to order at 6:50 p.m. So welcome everybody that's online. If you do have a comment or anything you want to say, we can pretty free form, so feel free to speak up and participate. The first thing on the agenda was just a board member update. So I just wanted to go around and see if there was anything anybody wanted to update us on. I know Larry had a few things. So if you want to start us off with a zero waste update, Larry.
Sure, thank you. So Erica can add to this. She's been involved in this a lot, but things are going well with Zero Waste Subcommittee. I'm happy to report. Four things quickly come to mind. But before I do that, could I insert a quick informational note, which is about the minutes for these meetings. So I'm writing them, but they're not, and I'm sending them out, but they're not landing in the right place on our shared computer site, let's call it. So Eric and I are soon going to have a in-person meeting with our computer screen sitting next to us, and we're going to solve this problem once and for all. So I apologize for the snafu, but I'm happy to send out to anyone the notes via single email until we get this solved, but it's going to happen soon. So on Zero Waste Subcommittee, first of all, we have an ongoing presence at Farmers Market every 2 weeks, and it's going well. They've actually given us our own canopy. We didn't ask for it, it just showed up, and they told us that we could have it for the rest of the summer, ongoing. And so it has turned into, also, in addition to our 3 waste bins there, which is working well, ongoing, I'll say. It's sort of a research project, but it's very interesting. But the actual zero waste bins, sort bins that are sort of based on EcoCycle model are that's going well. We're also giving away tons. I mean, mini boxes of these, like dozens. And it's a delightful informational process to do this because it's free and it invites people to sort of talk about environmental issues.
Those are the free light bulb kits.
Oh, yes. These are the free LEDs. And I just, I'm bringing it, it's, and this is actually due to earlier SAB projects, really. So we have them to thank for this. So that's ongoing, Farmers Market. In addition, we sent a nice group of volunteers to the Jazz Wine Festival that occurred last week, which was delightful, I thought. We also are preparing a small grant proposal to Boulder County for what we think is needed zero waste related equipment. And we are intentionally keeping that grant request small in the hopes that it might actually be funded and we can build a sort of a forward-going relationship with the county based on this kind of thing. The county is delightful and has responded in many favorable ways. We're losing our main connection. We just lost him, but we're hoping that Boulder County will continue to send a representative to our zero waste subcommittee meetings. This has been so helpful. Erica has been essential to this process in so many ways. It's just hard to describe. The last thing I want to mention is that 5 of us on the zero waste subcommittee today, plus Cynthia from town staff, visited EcoCycle for their full-fledged tour. And that was a wonderful experience that I would just encourage everybody to do at some point because it'll just make you feel better. Such a sophisticated facility, so clean, so well run, and it's done by a nonprofit. This is not a corporate entity. This is a nonprofit that's been around forever And what they are doing is something Boulder should be really, really proud of. We should be proud of it, to be associated with them. So Erica, if you wanted to add anything to that.
Yeah, so first I would add, you were at the Jazz and Wine Festival before it started raining.
Thank you. And I did leave before. And so up until that point, things were so great. Melody was there. It was just, yes.
I would say that continued, but it was a little soggy.
But no one complained about the rain.
No.
It was great.
It was fantastic.
People were still happy.
Yep. Even when the music was turned off because the power went out. Yes. It was great. Yeah, zero waste, there's a lot going on. I'm definitely happy to organize another eco-cycle tour. I know there's some interest. Also, I'd like to get the youth involved, see if we can invite maybe the teen center and the youth advisory board. Very exciting. We also went to Charm, which was great. And so if anyone's interested, we have our next zero waste meeting on September 6th. It's the 7th, the first Wednesday of the month at 1:00 p.m. If you want to attend, just let me know and we can share the Zoom link. But we want to talk about ways that we could implement what's happening at Charm at the Nederland transfer station. Because I think there's some low-hanging fruit that we could potentially implement pretty quickly to help increase waste diversion. Other things as far as zero waste, compost is a big conversation. I think we have that on the agenda a bit later, so we can talk about that. A1 is kind of changing the requirements as far as contaminants and some big fines and actually just throwing compost away if it doesn't qualify. So I think there's always more to talk about with zero waste. It's a pretty big conversation, but I think I'll leave it at that and we can talk more about compost later in the agenda. But thanks. I am just really excited to work with the zero waste team. So I don't think I can take much credit, but there's a lot of fun things happening if you want to get involved.
If anyone ever needs one of those canopies, I've got a couple, and I'd be happy to loan them to anyone on the committee in a committee capacity or even just a personal capacity. Just let me know. I'd be happy to lend them to you. Like the kind I have at the farmer's market. They're like 8x8. Yeah, I've got a couple of I think they're 8x8. Maybe one's a 10x10, but I think they're 8x8. So, and I think I even have I don't know where they would be. I think you even have some side things flaps for them too. So
that would be fantastic.
Just let me know.
Yep. Thanks, Rich.
Yep.
All right. And then was there something you wanted to mention about the affordable housing project property too?
Well, there's nothing formally happening that I'm aware of, but so I just was wondering if anybody actually had strong feelings about the idea of an annexation that was for affordable housing only. And this thought came to me sitting in this room last week with the Boulder County Commissioners, who at one point seemed to open themselves up to the idea that, sort of regarding the IGA, Tom was there and could certainly speak to this, but it seemed, what I heard from them was the idea that they could somehow accept in the future an annexation that would involve new housing on what is now essentially non-housing, it's open property. And so I heard that from the commissioners, and they didn't dwell on it, but I thought I heard that. And to me, it was like, wow, okay. And then the owner of the property, Bobcat Ridge property, 17 acres, which is in many ways available for annexation, she talked about affordable housing in a very passionate way that made me think that, that she wanted to do this if it was affordable housing, something like that. So,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm just sharing all that with you because all of a sudden those two ideas just sort of came together in a way that seemed coherent to me. And so at some point, this board might be asked to at least weigh in on this. I don't know. Maybe down the road. But so I'm just curious if anybody, and this could go on forever. It's a big subject, but I was just curious if anybody had strong thoughts about this or.
I think that there's a lot of strong thoughts of many people in town. So I'll just kind of mention, as far as with the SAB board, we have had dialogues with the property owner, and have talked to her about possibly having solar on the property and other kind of more sustainable solutions to a large development like that. So I think as as the BOT works on an annexation policy of some sort, assuming that they can get there beyond all the other hurdles they have right now, that is when, the IGA can be renegotiated, and then Nederland could perhaps annex property. But I think that's still quite a ways out, but I think it's good to continue that, dialogue with the landowner and try to see what town can do as far as making sure that, that the development is done in a way that doesn't destroy the environment as well. Do you want to?
Yes. Yeah, this is Patricia.
Yeah,
Um,
Patricia.
My understanding of the location of the property is it actually sits within a wildlife migration corridor, and that's been kind of the biggest holdup on annexation in the past. And so I looked into it, like when I lived in Old Town, probably like 8 years ago. And the property is an elk migration corridor. So if we're thinking about sustainability and like holistically about what that looks like, I think it'd be great to talk with Colorado Parks and Wildlife and the county to look more holistically about the current benefits of keeping that property as is versus annexing it into the town for affordable housing. And I 100% understand the need for affordable housing here and everywhere else. But I don't think that's a prime location for affordable housing.
Tom, did you have anything to say on that?
Nothing to add.
I had a question, more so for you, Miranda. I guess first, thanks for raising that, Patricia, because that was my understanding as well, that it's a heavily used wildlife corridor and integral to the health of the elk populations in this area. And I wouldn't be surprised if the moose, that seems like that's actually a really popular travel zone for them as well. But I had a question about, have we done any number crunching as far as kind of how much impact would this have on the town? How much revenue would it bring in as far as taxes? And just so we could speak a little bit better to, these additional units. I know there's a concern with the wastewater treatment plant. It's additional load from this development. Just more of like a holistic picture of what that impact would look like on Nederland.
So there's no active application. So I think the answer to that is no. And until if we kind of chase after every theory or every, not really a theory, or every project that's proposed, it would be a lot of town staff time. We wouldn't do any sort of evaluation until there was a true application before us. Now, I know historically there was a lot of work done, but this is kind of a very different project than what was previously brought forward. So there really isn't any assessment town staff has provided at this time.
Okay, so to make sure we're all on the same page, is it accurate that it really needs to go through the annexation process and then we'd have an application?
Well, that would be the application would be the annexation process. So they would submit the annexation petition, and we would then do our series of studies both within Boulder County and the town of Nederland under the current agreement would begin our evaluation of the proposal. But they have not, so their old annexation proposal just kind of died in the process. So they have to resubmit because Boulder County and the town of Nederland do not consider the old application a current application.
So I wonder if it's worth going to Kayla and, getting more information and then deciding if SAB does want to support or not support what the current application would be. So I think there's many layers to this. We've got a housing crisis, and with the housing conversation, my task, I'm not part of this peak-to-peak housing subcommittee, and my task for the next meeting is to look at resolutions that have been made in small towns similar to Nederland to focus and prioritize low-income housing or just additional housing for residents. And there are a number of sustainability groups and cities throughout the country that have made that one of their priorities, along with all of the other things. So I think it is very much a appropriate conversation for us to have with this board.
Yeah, definitely. I think until we have an annexation policy in place with town, though, is where I'm thinking, is it really worth it to discuss it?
And I
Till
would
then.
say that parcel is actually owned by multiple people. It's not just Kayla, and she does not have consensus amongst the other property owners. So I hesitate even having you, to Melody's point, even having you put too much time in when I don't even know if that application even can come forward if all property owners aren't in agreement.
Thank you. That was enormously helpful.
Well, maybe can I add one more thing, Larry? So I think where the value is now is maybe not this specific parcel, but the annexation policy that's coming forward before the Board of Trustees. They're going to have a work session on September 13th, and I would strongly encourage SAB to attend or weigh in and make sure that a part of the evaluating criteria that we're looking at under annexation are some of these things that SAB cares about, has emphasis in. And so when we're building the ordinance, we make sure that these are evaluating criteria. And we're going to want to adopt that ordinance ideally before December so that the board can then decide, are you keeping the IGA with Boulder County as written? Are you letting it go? Or are you amending it? Because now we have more control of the process and we've really fleshed out what that means to take on an application.
Thank you again. This is so helpful.
All right. And then do either of our call-in users have anything to comment on either regarding zero waste or this discussion of annexation and potential projects? Hearing nothing. Yeah. There's two. Oh, yeah. It looks like.
Well, I don't know if the other call-in user was potentially a board member. Oh, there was one. Never mind. Now there's only one.
Yeah, they disappeared and then Patricia popped on.
Yes, this is Patricia. I originally had called in and now I'm online. So I was the second person who called in. Sorry about the confusion.
No,
So much technology. Thank you.
Yeah, so I had energy subcommittee on here as the next thing, but I don't think we've officially met yet. I haven't heard from Chris at all, but we should try to get that going. But the big thing is US Solar, which is next up on the agenda. So if you want to.
Yeah,
Start
first I was just
for
wondering
that.
if Janet would mind introducing herself. So Janet and I met at Wild Bear this weekend during the climate reality presentation with Tim Rader. And Janet's really eager to get involved. And so I just love if Janet, if you don't mind, if you're comfortable, just introducing yourself to this group and then just letting us know a little bit about what you're excited about as far as sustainability and getting involved with different projects.
Hi, yes, I did meet Erica and Wild Bear at their presentation, and I live on Lakeview Drive. I've been in Nederland for, since March of 2019. I'm just interested in what's going on in the town and was hoping to get involved in some way. So I guess I'm listening to this meeting and seeing what is out there, what these different what you guys are doing in these different committees, and see what might strike my fancy, I guess. I guess my background, since I've been retired, I've been volunteering at the Denver Botanic Gardens. So I have a lot of passion in that kind of, thing. And at various CSAs. So I really like the beautying up of the town with some of the flowers and things that have gone around. I'm also, pretty passionate about the environment and keeping. I think Nederland is a wonderful opportunity because it seems like everything's so new here for Nederland that it's not already too far down some horrible path that we can't start, things good. Like I think the transfer station is amazing. I think that's just such a great resource for this town. So anyway, I'm just here to listen and see where I might be able to plug in.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Janet.
Thank you.
So jumping into U.S. solar, this is really exciting. So Miranda, let's go ahead and pull up either one of the pages, whichever is easier. We can start with that. So this is the main U.S. solar subscription page that has been created for Nederland. So stepping back a second, we have soft launched this program. I mentioned it, Tim and I mentioned it on Sunday at Wild Bear during our presentation. We had some great reception from people that were there. It's going to take some work. So we are hoping to schedule a training so that everyone is on the same page as far as what this program is, how do we communicate folks through it, what are the details, how do we troubleshoot if there's issues that come up, what do folks need to even sign up. And it seems it's getting easier as we have more conversations from my experience. But this is the main, this is on the US Solar site. The town will also have a link to this site soon. Peter's working on a button on the main page for the town site, and then also, a bit more information on the SAB page and probably linked from the Zero Waste as well. But you can see it starts kind of broad. And Miranda, if you can kind of scroll through. So people still get a little confused about what a solar garden is. So really explaining that this is, you don't need to have solar panels on your roof. It's not the specific energy that you're going to be using. Because there was a question about, what happens to this energy as we lose energy through the transmission lines to get from the solar garden, wherever it is in the state, to people's homes. It's really not that. That's not what's happening. It's a virtual subscription. And then it talks about, you need to be an Excel user. You keep going down. It's got some FAQs. We're hoping to expand.
So for everybody online, we just lost power. Oh, looks like we might have come. Oh, generator. So just hang on a second.
Do we still have folks online? Okay. All right.
The router must be on the backup also.
Oh. Patricia, Tom, can you still hear us? Yeah, I wonder if for them the power is blinking out.
So I did meet with the town of Netherlands Excel rep this week. We talked about some of the unique challenges Netherlands faces.
Absolutely.
Tom, Patricia, can you hear us? Wait, text.
Tom or Patricia, can you hear me? I'm not getting anything through.
I just texted Tom.
I mean, they could be phantom, right?
Yes. Melody, if your computer is unmuted, you may want to, I think I'm getting some feedback. You're muted now? Okay. Okay, cool. Do you not hear that? Is it just me? The humming thing?
The power just went out for me a couple of
Okay.
times. So I'm back on. Apparently it didn't go didn't go out in town. So
Well,
It
we
did
lost
go out here.
Tom, yeah.
okay.
It was
We're
town.
on a backup generator, I think.
Oh, fancy. If only we just all had solar, we wouldn't have had this problem. I just thought that was really
Well, I know
funny
the
and
community
ironic.
center needed one for a very long time and recently got it. So,
Oh, nice. Good. Um,
okay. So, you want to continue, Erica?
Yeah, let's continue. So if we go through these FAQs, and then you can click Get Started.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
Click Colorado. Excel Energy. Kind of just, gives you the basics, at least 5%. It is a guaranteed 5% for the bill credit that Excel would typically give you. So it's it's a financial savings for this 20-year contract. No cancellation fee. You don't need to pay anything to sign up, and it's not going to affect your Excel bill at all. Next. And then you're going to put in your information here. And depending on the link that you're on, Miranda, you're going to get to a page. See, it has Netherland 50 Food Pantry. So this is where you can decide if you want to do your donation to the food pantry or to Wild Bear, which is great. It's still a little confusing. So if you scan, I've got a QR code for the folks in the room. And if you scan that, it's going to take you to a different flow on a different website. That it's different? Yeah, it's quite confusing. But I just wanted to give you guys an introduction. So what I would ask of all of you is like spread the word. So 20-year contract, it's going to save you money. It's adding new renewable energy online through Excel in this partnership with US Solar. It is a win-win, in my opinion. Yep.
So great. Way to go.
It was not me. This was far beyond me. But it is it's also something that if you have solar panels on your roof, you can also sign up for this if there's a difference between what you use and what your panels produce. So, just thinking about, some of the comments people might have as you talk to them, as you get feedback from folks in town, please send that to me. Peter and myself and the US Solar team are going to be working on doing some videos with some of the frequently asked questions. We're going to be trying to champion folks in town. We'd like to get 5 people that are willing to sign up now and then share their experience. We're hoping to reach out to the BOT members. I'd love to talk to any of you that can also sign up for this. I'm sure a few of us are already on Renewable Connect or other options. One of the things I learned is folks that are on WindSource, they're buying RECs from Excel. They can also sign up for this program. Perfect.
I
Rich
just signed up using the QR code.
Woo!
And so that's how long it took. Although they have to check, so you don't get an email saying you're in. It sort of will get back to you within 24 hours, which I understand because I have to check with Excel. You do need to pull up. You either need a paper bill or you need to get on their website for Excel because they have information you're going to need. So
yeah, so something to think about for the farmers market and any events where you all may be there and getting people to sign up. You can hit online bill, paper bill, or you can hit neither. And that will still sign you into the system, and they'll follow up with you to get your account number and your premise number. So there is an option because a lot of folks at the farmers market, for example, may not have that information. So we can still get them into the system and get them started, and Tim will follow up. So the person that's going to respond to you is going to be Tim Hilgert, and he's been working with us directly on this program. I was with him today at the services fair. And the cool thing is, like, all of our signups are going to him. So we've got a person and someone we can reach out to if there's any issues, which is great.
That's great. I'm excited to learn more about it. I just had a question. How is this different from the SunShare community solar program that we learned about last year? And do you recommend this over SunShare, or what do you think the best option is for Nederland and for residents? I don't currently have solar on my rooftop, but it's something I'm looking into. So I would appreciate any feedback.
Yeah, so great questions. SunShare is fantastic. It's another great opportunity for renewable energy. It is the same cost as what people currently pay through normal Excel accounts. This is a financial savings. So I would say that's the number one reason to choose US Solar over SunShare. But I think if you're not concerned about that, I don't think there's any reason for people to switch from SunShare to US Solar. Does that answer your question, Patricia?
Yes, thank you so much, Erica. I appreciate it.
Yeah. The other thing about rooftop solar, and I was going to bring this up today to get kind of just an informal nod. I would like to champion another Solarize campaign this coming summer in 2023. So that would be a bulk purchase rooftop solar community campaign, where the more folks we get signed up for rooftop solar, the cheaper it will be per kilowatt or per watt. Yes. Installed. So that, if you guys are in favor of that, I'd love to put an application in with Solar Forward so that we can start moving formally into that for next summer. But I imagine this is like a menu of options, Patricia. The next option I want to talk about is our LMI community solar garden subscriptions, of which I was at the Peak to Peak Services Fair today at the community center, really trying to champion this because it's such a huge bonus for our residents. But this is another one of these menu options that I would hope to have, over the next handful of months into next summer, where we can give people like, here, what works best for you? What are your goals? What does your home look like? Do you own? Do you rent? And really try to match folks in Nederland up with what works best for them. So these LMI subscriptions, if you don't mind pulling up that page, Miranda. Oh yeah, you're right. You got it. So it's the page that pulls up here. This is through Energy Outreach Colorado. And there's 2 main ways for folks to sign up for this income qualified community solar garden opportunity. The first one is through EFA. And folks that are already in a bill support relationship with EFA, where they help them with their utility bills, they are already going to be eligible. I would still kind of recommend making sure that they're still in the system with EFA and Energy Outreach Colorado, but they're kind of already in the loop with the people that need to know that they are interested. The second option would be going to this page that Miranda has pulled up. So this community solar program specific page through Energy Outreach Colorado. And I signed a woman up today from Gold Hill. And it's, if you click on the how to apply, Miranda. Yep. This program is income qualified. So it is for folks that are 80% or below the average median income in Boulder County. I have a list with what that actually means for different numbers in a household, different size households. But for a family of 4, that's about $100,000. So in Boulder County, it's pretty high. So I hope that a number of our residents would qualify for this program, and I would love to steer them towards it. This doesn't necessarily come with, it doesn't come with a donation. It doesn't come with a $100 gift card, but it comes with on average a $50 monthly savings for the people that end up getting subscribed to these community solar garden subscriptions. So huge benefit. Plus they're also going to be on renewable energy, and they're helping, their town meet its energy goals. So these are the two. I have some beautiful laminated posters that I'm hoping to get to the farmers market. We have a vinyl big poster, 2 of them actually, Peter printed with the QR code for the general subscription. I have these smaller papers. I'd like to make them look prettier when I have some more time. But really cool stuff happening. There also, it has been, well, let's stop. Questions there before we get into the custom solar garden?
Have we thought about a full page ad in the Mountaineer for all this?
That is on the list, absolutely. So the plan is not to officially launch this until September 7th. So I'm hoping that my next article for the Mountaineer is going to be all about these opportunities. And then we'll talk to Barb. I'll talk to her about, could we run something every week for the next few months?
Well, at least once a full page ad with pretty graphics or something like that.
Okay. Yep.
I'm just looking at their website right now. A full page ad costs $600.
Got to start with a full page, big.
And
That's what I think.
a full page ad is going to be, I think, more impactful than an article, no matter how well written.
Okay.
Because people are more visual, right? And, frankly, when I peruse the Mountaineer, I don't read all the articles, but I probably see all the ads at least. And if you can say, this will save you money, no strings attached, whatever, right?
Yeah.
I think that could be valuable. And if, I believe in this a lot. And if there was if we don't have money for a full page ad, I'll buy the full page ad.
Well, no, I just think, Rich, thanks.
Yeah.
Done. No, I think that Erica could talk with Emmett and Nikki. They have funds in their budget, whether it's under the construction and demolition program, or they also have a sustainability line item. So I think it would just make sense to talk to them and see if they're willing to, and I'm sure they are willing to contribute a portion of their budgets to this.
Okay. I can reach out to them. And
They can also do a flyer, but I think people ignore flyers. I think an ad is better. Yeah.
I will follow up with Nikki and Emmett, and I'll talk to Barb too, because this might be something where she says, "Yeah, I've got space, and I like to champion this." Great. So tell your neighbors and your friends. Maybe we should make some T-shirts.
There's
Scan
an
code.
event at the school too is it this Friday?
This Friday. Mm-hmm.
Yes. At
Yes.
the elementary school, which might be a good place to pass out thingies if you have them.
T-shirts with the QR code would be cool.
Scan me. I don't know how long I could be at the school tomorrow, but I could definitely do like a half an hour and at least just hand stuff out. So I'll try to prioritize that unless somebody else feels like they're excited about that. Speaking of the school, I did corner the secretary and told her we had a lot of energy kits. So I did offer maybe an energy kit to every student that might be interested. So I don't know if you guys approve that, but we do have quite a few kits.
Pallets.
Yes.
How many kits do we have?
We have, I believe, 2.5 pallets left.
How
So
many is a pallet? I mean, I know how big a pallet is, but I don't know how many kits.
yeah, I have a spreadsheet. I can pull it up and estimate how many we have left. We probably have 150 at least.
It seemed to me like, the community center maybe have like a little thing outside the gym or something like that where people can pick them up. It doesn't have to be like an event, right? It can just be like a pile of them. Please honor system, only take one, right? And maybe, people that come into the movies when they have the backdoor theater, they can see one, take one. To me, and maybe the post office probably wouldn't agree to it because they're the federal government, right? And they're bureaucratic, but having them at the post office, where, like almost everybody in this town goes to the post office, right? Those are, to me, the places where really are going to get these in people's hands.
Yeah, that's a good point, Rich. I also talked to the library again, and they want to have a box, so I just have to drop some off to them. The community center has a few boxes right now, so it would just kind of be connecting with them and seeing kind of where we could put them out. I know the food pantry still has some as well. So, yeah, all good points.
They're actually easy to set up. They come in this fairly large cardboard box. You just simply open the top flap, bend it over, and then you take a big magic marker and you write free LEDs. And then I write courtesy of Excel at the bottom. People see this and they're not stupid in that, I set up the boxes. So there's several of them so you can see at a distance. So yes, he's right. We could just we must. I mean, they can't be sitting on pallets in a storage space.
And the reality is the faster we go through them, we can just ask for more too. So, yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So any other questions about, I see a comment from Patricia about the US Solar Community Solar Garden subscriptions, either the LMI or the general subscription campaign? Okay. So the next thing, and I need to do a little bit more homework on this as well, and it sounds like it's in an iterative process, but there's some pushback as far as Excel wanting to open up this next upcoming round for custom solar garden bids. So there are a number of organizations advocating for them to continue and to make this available. So we're kind of in a holding pattern to see what happens. I know COSA is really advocating for another round and being able to take more megawatts online, but still TBD. I did mention that when I met with the Excel rep too.
And the impression that I get is that it's because Excel wants to own the solar that's developed and they don't want to be necessarily giving it to all these other solar developers like US Solar. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there's profit to be made for the developer. So if Excel can harness that and build their own gardens, absolutely. And then also the delay helps pay off some of their older power plants in the meantime. Great. That was all I had for solar campaigns. Please get in touch. We'll definitely find and print more flyers, make sure everybody has some. The secret to a successful campaign is going to be just communicating nonstop about these opportunities and really following through. So Renewable Connect was so successful in Nederland because we had folks knocking on doors and really helping folks sign up and explaining the advantages of the program. So I would love to see that happening with these options as well.
All right. So the next thing on the agenda is a discussion about the composting and A1 organics. and probably what's going on up at the transfer station. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can start this one off. So the transfer station, as Larry mentioned, Todd Ruffner was our main contact. He was fantastic, and he was doing all the research on in-vessel facilities and the different options and the pros and cons of each option for the transfer station. And so Todd left in the beginning of the month and really handed it back to Cody, and I believe Taylor is the other contact who I haven't met in person yet. But they're still really excited to move it forward. I have not heard an update from them. Hopefully we will at the next Zero Waste meeting in early September. But my understanding is they're really kind of still moving forward with that. They'd love to have an in-vessel facility. That also coincides with this new requirement from A1 Organics, basically saying, we have too much contaminants in our compost and it's affecting the quality of the compost. And my understanding is that A1 has now come back and said, if we find too many contaminants, we are either going to fine or we're going to actually just throw all that compost away and put it in the landfill, which is really sad. So that's more on the zero waste subcommittee side of things, but how do we increase communication and education around compost? I mean, we're talking like even the stickies on your produce. That is considered a contaminant that could turn a bin around as far as if it's going to be accepted or not. So we need to really get the word out to our composters in town, especially as we try to build compost capacity. So the pro of all of this is that it's going to make a higher quality compost, and it's going to be something that we all would want to put on our gardens at the end of the process. So in the meantime, it's just going to be a challenge as far as getting people on board and making sure that we have the quality that we need for A1 to accept it. I have not heard official directive from the county. I've just heard kind of the grumblings of, this is new, this is going to be a challenge, and we need to communicate this to folks. EcoCycle has had some very specific language as far as how to share this with your residents. But again, I haven't heard, are we going to stop bins leaving Nederland? What are we going to do as far as tangible directives from the county? That's what I have as far as an update. Any folks have things to add to that you've learned in your own pursuits?
I don't have anything to add. That was great. Great summary. Composting is a very big deal. It's kind of like an early subject in recycling, in the recycling world, and it's somewhat obscure. It's not going to be obscure in the future. It isn't. And we've got to take this seriously, and we are. And so I'm really excited to be involved in something so down to earth and, basic. But we do have to pay a lot of attention to this. The town of Nederland needs to pay a lot of attention to this. And I think one of our goals, Zero Waste Subcommittee, is to bring this subject forward to the level it needs to be. But again, Erica's right on top of this. I'm so grateful.
Hi, this is Patricia. Have we gotten like a lot of feedback from the current compost process in Nederland about people not kind of following the rules? And is that what kind of sparked the concern from A1, or is that just their process moving forward of what the expectation is working with the town of Nederland?
My understanding is it was not specific to Nederland. It was more of a general, our compost stream as it is now is not high enough quality to be able to be used in a functional way with the end product. So I don't think it was specific to Nederland. I actually don't know if it's specific to Boulder. I know there's quite a few users of A1 in the Front Range. So I can definitely pursue that more, Patricia, and learn a bit more as far as, what was the trigger for this, and how does Nederland look now?
Okay. Yeah, and so just my work in the community service space in Denver. I work a lot with Denver Urban Gardens, and they've talked about, and I was actually at a space yesterday. They work very specifically with A1, and I've learned a lot about Denver's compost process there, and it's very specific to only food scraps, like kitchen scraps kind of thing. And then the A1 facility in Denver, they can bring stuff to, they're pretty conservative in terms of what can be processed. And then the city of Denver and A1 work together so that if you want to get actual like compost that you can use in your garden, it's already processed. They have a closed loop system. So Erica, I can talk with you offline about this more, if you want to. So they're a great facility and they do a lot in the Denver metro area. So I think it'd be great if we can like tap into them. And I don't know what we need to do to kind of to shift that within the town to work with them.
Patricia, thank you for bringing up about whether Nederland is a part of this problem. Two of our zero waste subcommittee members pursued this, Greg and Tanya pursued this a while back because we were specifically concerned about the amount of single-use compostable containers that we were sending to the Nederland facility. And because it was almost all containers and hardly any food. It was like 95% containers, something like that. It was so, and we were just wondering, well, does that contaminate the compost mix? So we specifically asked, I guess it was Todd, and Erica, you may or may not remember, but this was a while back, but we asked Todd at Boulder County about this, and we got then a specific answer back from him saying it's not a problem. And what we were surmising from that is that all of the other stuff that's put into the containers at the transfer station for composting, that most of that is actual food scraps, so that the end mix, at least from our loads at Nederland, is okay. However, this was just Todd from his perspective, and I'm thinking A1 maybe is, as Patricia suggests, coming at it from a slightly more conservative, she says, approach. And this could spell problems for us. I mean, unless we get our own facility, our own impeller facility at the transfer station up and running. And then it becomes our local problem, or the county and ours local problems, because we'll be bringing in the schools, we'll be bringing in the businesses. This has to happen. This is going to happen. We're going to get all of the compost generators in the town of Nederland and right outside. We're going to get them all into this. We have to. So, and it's probably going to have to be at the transfer station in our own facility. But I am concerned about this because I'm aware of infrastructural downstream problems that could occur. And if A1, if all of a sudden gets tight, then all of a sudden that could have impacts that we're not aware of right now. And so this concerns me. But thank you, Patricia, for that. We did, though, ask specifically about Nederland, and we got an okay from them.
Does anybody else have anything that they would like to add to the discussion? All right, I'll just wrap it up by saying that I think the capacity for taking in compost has been an issue for a long time, so I'm happy to hear about in Vessel something up there, and I think that will really help. And then the other thing is that already the transfer station employees have been pretty good about what people can and cannot put in the compost bin. So I'm hoping, I can't say for sure, but I would hope that A1 Organic's big issue is really with the cities and the people that are composting down there, and that hopefully our compost is not as big of a problem as those other places. But of course, I can't say for sure. So that's all on composting. And then is there anything else, Erica, that you had going on that you wanted to update us on?
Well, do you guys want to move to the next agenda item and then I can kind of go through my normal dump of different conversations and things going on?
Sure.
Okay.
So I believe you all got through the SAB email a comment from somebody. I don't have it right now. But the idea is to propose that the town make a proclamation to make October 5th Energy Efficiency Day. And it's a national campaign that all sorts of different municipalities and government organizations have done. So I did put the link here just to the toolkit that I found on their website online. But if you go to Energy Efficiency Day in Google, you just type that in, you should be able to find their main website for that campaign. It's hashtag EE Day 2022. So I just wanted to get a feel from board members of if they supported doing something like this. I know energy efficiency is definitely something we've discussed a lot. And then also get from Miranda when we could maybe get on an agenda to have the BOT discuss this.
I'll just say, I mean, it's harmless. I really don't think it'll do anything. I think that these days and proclamations that towns put out are ignored and nobody really cares about them. And nobody does anything because of them. I mean, you might have one or two people in town think about it a little more, but it doesn't hurt anything. So I say, yeah, the feel good moment of the month.
Yeah, I agree with everything Rich just said.
I'll just read a few lines here from their template proclamation. Whereas energy efficiency is the cheapest, quickest, and cleanest way to meet our energy needs, avoid dangerous pollution, and reduce utility bills for residents and businesses in our community. And so it goes on all sorts of different kind of advantages of promoting energy efficiency. Creating new jobs, supporting increasing the minimum levels of efficiency for new buildings, supporting energy efficiency policies. Together, we can contribute to our sustainability efforts by learning more about energy efficiency and practicing smarter energy use in our daily lives. Therefore, we proclaim that October 5th is, or the first Wednesday in October is Energy Efficiency Day. So, do Tom or Patricia, you guys have any thoughts on it?
What was your question?
What are your thoughts on proclaiming the first Wednesday of October Energy Efficiency Day?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Rich. Are there other things in October that this lines up with in terms of the industry, or I mean, how does this fit in context in October? I'm just wondering if the energy efficiency industry is doing other things that we could piggyback on.
Once the city of Aurora proclaimed Rich Ormond Day, I'm not kidding. I really have such a proclamation, and nobody congratulated me. Nobody noticed, and that's why I think these things are sort of pointless. But again, I think it's harmless.
Okay.
Congratulations, Rich. I mean, really. He told me this is when he retired, so there was a reason for it. I mean,
There is a social media toolkit that Peter could use if we did decide to do this. I think it's more just a statement, you know, that we make as a city organization, and not so much what is the action that's going to come out of this. I think a lot of people in town, we are already trying to get them to, you know, save energy. So who knows if this will add to that or not. But I think the statement, I definitely can understand and resonate with. It says on the website, over 900 different organizations and government agencies so far have adopted this day.
I would just add that Netherlands actually doing things that show that it cares about making this proclamation, as opposed to us doing nothing and just issuing a proclamation. So thanks for that point, Melody.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, maybe if we decide to adopt the proclamation, then on that day, we can highlight all the stuff that Nederland as a town is doing for, you know, reducing our consumption of energy. And I mean, just all the goals that we have as a town, municipality, and then how that fits into the Boulder County's goals as well as the governor's goals of 100% renewable by 2024. So I think there's like a lot of ways we can go about it. So that might be kind of fun to, if we decide to sign on to it, to kind of showcase all the good stuff that Nederland is doing, and Nederland has been a leader on this issue for a very long time.
We're deluged with information, let alone proclamations. I would think if I were, you know, and I think we've got a tolerance of about a paragraph if there isn't something in there for me to do. I think if you have a limited attention span, I would say, you know, here are two to three things that people in NED can do that's appropriate, you know, appropriate to NED, especially with winter coming on. But just to tie something to, here's a proclamation, but here's what you can do and what you probably should. Just a thought.
That's a great thought. Thank you. And it seems like it would tie in with our solar campaign, wouldn't it? October 5th.
We could definitely tie it in, but I'm wondering if we could tie in Energy Smart even more
I
directly.
think that's a better tie-in.
And the winterization program through Energy Outreach Colorado for income qualified folks. I think there's some really tangible programs they could use to highlight with this resolution.
Yeah, I'd make the proclamation as short as possible, and the tips is, you know, equally. People are going to want to, if it resonates, they're going to want to do something or know how it ties to them.
I do like the list of folks that are participating in this campaign. RMI is there. I don't have the page up anymore, but there's some big organizations that are part of this.
It means a lot to us that follow this, but to the average person, I'm not sure that RMI will resonate. I think it needs to be made personal, but that's just one point of view.
No, absolutely. Absolutely agree, Tom.
If you were going to pick one thing, Tom, that got your attention, I mean, you suggested two or three, which I agree with, but
I would just say the impact of turning your thermostat down 2 degrees or something like that. I think we beat the LED thing to death. Maybe an Excel program for insulation or something that says that provokes them to look a little further, better yet, as a link for them to keep going if it resonates.
do you have another two? I just wrote down that first one.
No, but I could come up with them pretty easily.
Okay. That was great.
And when we're talking energy efficiency, we're predominantly talking about residential home energy use, right? We're not talking about cars or parking your car one day a week or using RTD or anything like that, or are we?
I don't think they're including transportation directly
Mhm.
by name, but they are talking about residents and businesses, as well as energy codes and government policies.
Okay. Alrighty.
So does the SAB like the language that is in the proclamation as is? Or we may have time, but it would be cutting it short probably to get it in front of the BOT in time to go over this and hash it out and talk about it at our meeting on the 22nd of September.
Tom, do you have a thought on that?
No, I don't. I think the language is fine. I think the BOT will look at it and, probably approve whatever we put in front of them. I just would like to, if we're going to make any changes, have them done in plenty of time for the packet, for packet inclusion for people to give their feedback.
I would also recommend too, with the climate emergency resolution, it was taken up by 2 BOT members to add some edits to the language and then add some local impacts and ways to connect it for the audience, as you all have mentioned. So if we could get, Tom, yourself, and maybe one other person on the BOT that you would recommend involved sooner than later, I would think that would be a really positive thing and just make it that much easier to move it through.
Okay, I'll work with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, I personally am not seeing anything in here that concerns me. So, I guess I would make a motion that we recommend the adoption of the first Wednesday in October is Energy Efficiency Day. And that we put that before the BOT whenever we can get to them. And then we'll hear what they have to say. Does anybody second that?
I'd be happy to second that.
All right, so we will take a vote. I'll start with those of you online. Tom?
Game, yes, go.
Rich, yes or no?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
And myself is a yes.
I still have Patricia, I believe.
Is she the alternate?
Yes, but you don't have full board, so she can vote.
Okay.
Okay.
She just voted when
Yes.
we didn't have quorum.
She can vote if
I
you
was
don't have
wondering
quorum
about
or
that
you're
too.
less than 7.
Okay. I heard a yes from Patricia.
I say yes. Thank you.
So obviously there's a board meeting the day before, but I'm guessing you don't want to do it that close to, so there's time to do promotional. So do you want to do the second meeting in September? Or you can do it the day before, October 4th.
That sounds too quick. So the second in September,
It would be
September
September
20th.
20th. Yep. Okay.
Okay. So we will go before the BOT and then maybe Tom, you can kind of share this language with them and let them know that this will be coming in front of them shortly so they have some time to look it over.
I will do that.
And Tom, did I hear you say you would work on more streamlined language on this, or
Yeah, I'd probably tighten it up a little bit.
in all your spare time?
Yeah, I've got a little more now.
I was just going to offer I can format it and get all of the right formatting for the resolution, and then work with you, Tom, on getting it ready to share.
Sure.
Cool. All right. Well, that's all that's on our agenda besides update from our wonderful staff member.
All
Well,
right.
We'll have to teach the Board of Trustees how to shave this much time off. This is efficient meeting.
So please ask questions, interrupt. You have anything to add? I'd love to hear it. So I'm just kind of going through my list of the last month since our previous SAB meeting. We had Elizabeth French and Matt Hannon from PACE join our Zero Waste meeting, which was fantastic. We talked about some of the previous bulk to-go-ware projects that have happened in the county. And Elizabeth really has spearheaded quite a few of those. So that was great. Also had a meeting with Evergreen. They're interested to learn about our green business program and kind of how it's come to where it is now and where the plan is to take it from here. The town board happy hour at Very Nice was great. And we also had a breakfast on the 18th at Salto. The next one is going to be on September 8th at Knotted Root. And again, that's really this collaborative meeting where we can all get together and it's publicly noticed. So it's okay that we're all, in the same space and potentially talking about some of the projects we're working on or just hanging out. We can also just casually, enjoy our time together, which is nice because it gets tricky when we're not publicly noticed. Let's see, Karen and I met to talk about an e-bike program, which she mentioned at the last BOT meeting. And if you have, I know I've talked to a few of you, I know Rich and Larry both are really excited about this, but we're kind of waiting to see what grants open and what the opportunity is. That will likely be September, October. There will be a rebate grant that's going to be opened again, which is basically just a rebate depending on the bike that you purchase. And I need to learn some more details about that. Can we run that through Tin Shed? Does it have to be a larger e-bike distributor? I'm not sure those details yet. The other would be potentially putting in for like a lease to own for lower income folks in town, which would be maybe a 5 or 10 bike purchase. And then, in the past, that's been partnered with an NREL app to really track how these bikes are being used. But we'll see what that grant would look like this next round. So to stay tuned for that. I have talked to Tin Shed about would they be willing to broker a bulk purchase for those, and I need to actually get an official email out to them about what we're thinking. But with these grants, not knowing what iteration they're going to be in this round, it's a little difficult to present a solid plan at this point. But we're still talking.
Hi, Erica. This is Patricia.
Yeah.
There is money from a new piece of legislation that was signed into law in the state legislature in 2022 for e-bikes, and I can look into it to see exactly what it means for towns and municipalities, and can send that information along to you.
Patricia, that would be
Great,
fantastic.
Patricia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I will do that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Patricia. That would be awesome.
We had our introductory call for updating Boulder County's greenhouse gas inventory. That was really interesting. They're going with Lotus Engineering again, which is who did the previous inventory. And they're still trying to figure out this scope 3. How do we do our consumption inventory?
That's a tough, a heavy lift. I hope they can figure it out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So they have to figure it out, right? I mean,
For scope
What-
3?
pardon?
For scope 3?
Yeah. I mean,
It's
it's going to be figured out. Yes.
I can't speak to that definitively at this point. I know in the EcoCycle tour that Larry and I were at earlier today, it was shared by Rosie Briggs that 42% of the greenhouse gas emissions pie is from the consumptive area. So it's a big piece. So I think Boulder County is still kind of wrapping their head around it to see, how do we do this? So I hope so, Larry. We had a great day with walkthroughs with Matt Hannon. So we did a number of additional businesses. We went to Knotted Root, we went to Perry's, we went to the shop, which it was great to meet with Claudia, who does manage the Tebow Plaza. And so there's some cool conversations happening as far as, what can we do with PACE? What can we do with solar? So we need to get some more numbers to her as far as, what would it look like to actually put solar panels on that roof, and how would Tebow manage that with these additional meters for her tenants? I wrote an article on ozone, came out today in the Mountaineer. Love your feedback. Also love additional topics to write about. Although now with the US solar stuff, we have quite a few, solar specific articles that we can focus on the next few months. The Jazz and Wine Festival, just a quick update. I got some numbers from Stephanie, which we'll talk about our next zero waste meeting, Larry, but there was 600 people in attendance. She had 132 cubic feet of waste. These are numbers from her. Basically, all the waste went into Ron Mitchell's big blue box truck. There was 70% of that was recycling, or 92 cubic feet is what she estimated. And the remainder was, take the recycling out, of the remainder, she broke down 55% of it was compost and 45% was landfill. So it was, let's see, I pulled up her email here, but yeah, 15% waste. So I'd say that was a very successful zero waste event. So hopefully she's going to be at our next zero waste meeting to talk about the how it works. But it was great to get some feedback from her as far as, we've got two different types of events. We've got big events where they may pay for somebody to manage zero waste, like the Frozen Dead Guy events did this last year. Sarah Starr managed that. Or we have these smaller events like what Stephanie just put on, where it doesn't necessarily make sense to pay someone to manage that. Really, it's better to have volunteers coming in. But how do you set that up for success? I know Melody, myself, and Larry were there as volunteers for zero waste. And so we talked about, how do we set up more of a informal plan? How do we share information with new volunteers come on at different times? How do we make sure that waste is organized and really kind of making sure that the most waste can get diverted as possible? So we'll talk about that a bit more.
Yeah, the only thing I have to add about that event is that having everybody have a reusable glass meant that I think overall the waste was so much less than other events, even of that size. I think that's a big takeaway. And if Frozen Dead Guy Days could institute something where, let's say, all the beer vendors charge $1 more than they normally would, but everybody who bought their reusable Frozen Dead Guy Days cup got $1 off their beer and paid normal price, and somehow incentivizing that reuse, because there was just so much little waste because of that. It was great to see.
The difference was shocking, what she's describing. It was just shocking to me to see. It was almost like everybody was carrying around a glass. And it was obviously got the glass when they registered, it was part of the process. So Frozen Dead Guy, as far as I'm concerned, any sort of paying event going forward, we should just mandate this, I think, or make it so incentivized heavy that they're going to do it, because the difference was just incredible to me compared to the farmer's market, where you have actually chaos right now.
Is there going to be a Frozen Dead Guy Days anyway? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, they have not submitted any application materials.
Additional things. So the Climate Action Sunday presentation this past Sunday again, talked about the US solar campaigns, which was great. I think we had 15 or so folks there, a couple of younger students from Netherlands schools, which was great. Actually, one student said she didn't learn anything new. I was like, okay, it was great. Yeah.
Raising good ones here.
Yep, exactly. And then today at the services fair. So that was another just really focusing on these lower income qualified subscriptions. But I'd really like to get more and more events on the calendar. So anytime you guys find an opportunity to have energy kits or flyers for these solar garden subscriptions, even, we've been talking about just education opportunities around composting and recycling. I think we should just really try to get more and more events and to have more representation in the community. I also talked with Dawn about a number of waste questions, but also they're hoping to do their Turkey Day Thanksgiving dinner, and they're looking for some volunteers for that event. And ideally, they would be folks that would also like to educate other volunteers on the waste stream. So if that's something that SAB is interested in supporting, Dawn's going to get more information to me about the specific date and times and how many volunteers. I'm getting a nod. So yes, we want to help.
Yes, I love this event.
Okay.
Do you have a date or did I miss?
No date yet. Yeah. And then I met with Joe, who's our new town representative or town account manager with Excel, and Bill, who's also a sales engineer with Excel. And it was great to meet with them and really talk about some of the opportunities for reducing energy loads and improving energy efficiency, which would be great for our new energy efficiency day. And just making sure that we have a really clear communication line with them. Joe's also going to connect me with our community representative, which is a different person, which I know you've been in touch with, Melody, but I still haven't connected with in the last few months.
What were some of the things that they suggested when you met?
Yeah, so we talked about there's let me look back at my notes. I've got them right here, Tom. Well, first of all, Joe is a representative for all the ski areas in Summit and Eldora. So part of the reason I met with him was because he was already up here talking to Eldora and reached out, which was great. Also a number of communities in Summit County. They've talked about really these programs that Excel offers to businesses, of which the town is included in that. And these being able to come in and do studies and assessments as far as energy load and energy efficiency, and really trying to find where can we improve that, what opportunities are there. There's also custom programs that they can do depending on what the town is interested in. I did get a definition that a small business to Excel is anything less than 100 kW of instantaneous power use.
Okay.
So that's going to cover most all properties probably in town, maybe with the exception of Eldora.
Definitely.
And then they also let me know that they will retroactively reimburse their accounts for things that they've implemented. And they have some money on the table now that they need to spend between now and the end of the year. So they've increased the rebates for a number of things. So now's a really good time to take advantage of even just like bulb rebates. He mentioned that they had increased the rebates by 50% because they're really trying to use up this money by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's pretty substantial, but beyond the ski area, do any of our businesses register?
As far as the 100 kW?
Yeah, is reaching that level of significance.
So I think the programs that I'm talking about all refer to small businesses. So that's everyone below that 100 kW. So my understanding is that, they can come into any kind of town properties, let alone smaller businesses in town, and implement, these studies and assessments, give them a strategic energy management plan. And then they also help with behavioral stuff as well. So, time of use and even I can't quite speak to all of it was kind of I was drinking from a fire hose a bit in this conversation. But I think does that help, Tom, answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, you had just finished up the capstone thing to analyze our energy use. Did you show that to them, or was it relevant?
I think it would be good to have another conversation with them. So they're really focused on the town accounts, so more of the
Understood.
municipal.
Okay. Okay.
So my understanding that wasn't directly related. I did talk to them about our broad goals, but when we tried to get into, I tried to get into the weeds a bit. It was brought back to this. We're more focused on these town accounts, which
Yeah,
is
that's a
great.
different
right?
team at Excel.
Yep, yep. And that's where this community representative, I think it's time to reach out. And Joe, who I met with, is going to connect me with our community representative so we can have that conversation. Is it
Good.
I think so. Yeah. But I don't think they've been up here.
No, she hasn't. Garrett and I spoke to her over the phone, I think twice. We got a hold of her, and it was really, really hard to get her
Okay.
to actually meet with us. So it's good to have another lever at Excel to like pull her back into the conversation.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. I've had to log in 3 times because my has been flickering on and off. That's another thing I'd like to talk to them about.
Yes, exactly.
So Erica, did I hear a end of year timeframe?
Mhm.
Yeah, they said actually, I wrote it down, November 15th is when they need to spend all this money. So let's help them spend their money.
Well, isn't this a potential, it sounds like a potential big deal for businesses here in town.
It does.
Yes?
It definitely could be. This is from most of what we're talking about is the town accounts. But I think it's worth checking in with this community person if it's iffy and seeing how directly can this relate to businesses. But my understanding is that they're all business accounts. Town is also a business account for Excel.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't see why it isn't a benefit to all, the other small businesses in town. And that goes back to this PACE conversation. So, Matt and I just scheduled our next PACE visit in town. It's going to be September 16th, I believe. So we're trying to get with Dawn and to talk to her tenants, of which they would qualify. But the municipal buildings don't qualify with PACE. PACE is really for everything outside of that government realm in the small business, well, any business arena. But PACE also connects businesses directly with Excel opportunities. So there's an LED bulb plug and play that Excel has been doing as of the last almost year now. And they'll basically come in, and as long as you're a small enough business, they will replace any fluorescent bulb with a LED bulb. And they'll bring the ladder and they'll install it and they'll take away the old ones. Right? And all you need to do is just reach out to them and get on their list. And you have to have your premise number and your account number. Like they have to verify that you qualify for this program. But we are definitely connecting businesses with these opportunities. Yeah. 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 All right. Computer just logged out for a second here. I believe that's all. Well, and I'd love to wrap up with the solar forward. So I'd love just an informal nod from everyone that we would like to move forward with the Solarize campaign for 2023, of which the 30% tax credit has been renewed from the federal government.
If you do it right, it's 35.
Really? Tell us more.
From what I understand, it depends upon the location of the manufacturer of the solar panels.
The U.S. content.
Yeah, most of the solar panels I think come from China,
Right.
which I don't think many of us like, but it is what it is. But they will give you an extra subsidy if you put in U.S. manufactured solar panels, of which I think the only real big one is Tesla.
Mhm. Batteries, the same situation.
For right now.
Yeah, I think that their goal is to onshore, or at least to Canada and Mexico and the US as much as possible.
Yeah.
So, whether or not it works, who knows?
Well, that's great to know. Thanks, Rich. So how's everybody feeling about a Solarize campaign? So we did run one in 2021 with Solar Forward. Solar Forward is a branch of Solar Energy International, which does a lot of the solar education and training in the US, also internationally. They also are, I believe, one of the accrediting bodies for curriculum within the solar industry. And I am doing a fellowship with them right now. So just so you all know.
I'll nod.
Okay, Rich is nodding.
Sure.
Melody's nodding. Larry, Patricia, Tom.
Yep.
Thanks, Tom. Patricia, are you out there?
She's still logged on, but I'm sure she's nodding.
All right, great. That is all that I have. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
Yeah, wondering if I could get a copy of the work product from the Capstone Excel program on our energy use. I'd love to see that.
Of the Excel document?
Yeah, the thing that they crunched the numbers. I want I want to see the projections they came up with. I presume that's what you when you met with others in Boulder County. Those were the figures from Nederland you used, right? The baseline.
When I met with who from Boulder County?
Well, in your report, you refer to the Capstone folks crunching the town of Netherlands 2021 community energy report from Excel. So I kind of
Oh.
want to see the report from Excel and then the work product that they came up with as they analyzed the numbers.
From when they initially did it in 2018?
No, it's the bottom of first page of your August 10th report. I'll drop you. We'll take it offline. I don't want to waste people's time.
Oh, it's okay, Tom. I think this is valuable. So let me pull up this. Yeah, I've got the SAB agenda right here. Melody can probably speak to this too. So I believe I linked it in that initial email when I shared the numbers.
Okay.
But I think it's valuable that all of us are on the same page here. So
Yeah, I really love on the next page, it's good to know exactly what our baseline is and working it through how many subscriptions for US Solar would take, or it's always good, I think, to start with a real number, even if it's calculated, and work backwards from there.
yes. So Tom, I'll dig up the email that I had sent, unless somebody else has it easily accessible. It was the community energy report.
I'll find it. If you send it, I'll find it.
If we separate residential accounts, which have an average of 9,076.29 kilowatts annually, we'll need about 302 subscriptions through Community Solar Garden campaign to accomplish the goal by the end of 2025, given current energy use. Is that what you're
Yeah,
referring?
that's the paragraph I'm talking about. It was the underlying data.
But Tom's talking about the initial Capstone Excel that was
Yes.
created, and that's where I got those numbers from.
Okay.
So, and I can send that
Yeah, that's all I'm
send that
asking.
whole folder to you, Tom, but it would be really helpful just so everyone knows to get extra sets of eyes on that document and make sure that my math is correct, because that was set up, a few years ago by the Capstone Group. And since then, there has been new breakouts of information that Excel gives us in our community energy report, where that information is coming from. And so I have added new rows in that document. And so it just be helpful just to make sure like, okay, yeah, this looks good. And my assumptions, we haven't really talked about this. So my assumptions with those calculations is that Excel is going to, their goal is 80% by 2030.
Mhm.
And if they want to get, right now they're, let's see, 2021, they're 39% renewable for their portfolio. So for them to get to 80% by 2030, I estimated an increase of 5% every year between now and 2030. And so I increased 5% from now until 2025, just assuming that their baseline increases at that rate.
Mhm.
And it also might be worth talking about RECs as a board again to make sure that we're all on the same page as what is 100%? What is success for us as a town? And years ago, we talked about this as success is reaching 100%, meaning that we added 100% of renewable energy onto the grid,
Mhm.
but not making the RECs an essential part of that conversation. Because when you add the cost of RECs into even a rooftop array, it often makes it financially difficult for the installer. Even with a community solar garden campaign, we are not getting the RECs for that energy. Our
Mhm.
subscribers are getting the energy and they're helping support putting those solar gardens online. So you can get into the weeds really quickly with that conversation. And when you look at other communities that have made 100% goals, they have all kind of had to work through this conversation and really decide what makes the most sense for us.
Mhm.
And it may be something where, I've talked to some BOT members of, maybe we're going to have to think about our last 10% or our last 5% when it comes, the end of 2025. And maybe we may revisit this conversation and what our priorities are.
Yeah,
But
the last 25% is killer sometimes. The
yeah,
choice you have to make.
absolutely, absolutely. And just, I guess, going back to, we also looked at what the city of Boulder was prioritizing and some other leaders that we were looking at in this conversation, a few years ago. So they had prioritized putting new renewable energy online versus this REC piece. And the REC piece brings up an equity issue too, right?
Sure does.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll connect with you because I would just love your feedback. I mean, this is what you do, professionally.
Well, I
So
do. Yeah.
yeah. So please check my math, but I'll make sure you have those documents.
Okay, sounds good.
Tom, I want to second that. I looked at the capstone document a while back fairly carefully. They do a lot of modeling, and what Erica is talking about is a model, and that's all it's ever going to be is a model. And so the predictive capacities, you have to rein them in to make them credible. And so I would really strongly encourage you to read that capstone document and then look at Erica's models, essentially what it was, and give her feedback. I strongly encourage that actually as soon as possible, if you could.
Deal. Anything else we need to cover?
That's what I was just gonna say.
I have a question about the River Guardian thing. I don't know if there's any movement on that since we last discussed it.
We were gonna bring it back in September because Alan wasn't gonna be here for this meeting. So we'll
Got it.
talk about it again next month.
And I am having our water rights attorney and our town attorney look it over just because that created some hiccups last time. They didn't look it over in advance. And so they'll get back to me with feedback and I'll share it with you all.
Since it
Thanks.
doesn't do anything and no one can sue, and it doesn't really change anything, it's really just sort of an aspirational thing. I don't know.
It did have our water attorney had some concerns about the impact it had on our conditional water rights. and therefore some changes had to be made. And so we had a resolution that was adopted. We ended up having to go back to amend it with some language that was requested by Aaron Ladd, our water rights attorney, because he felt we were putting ourselves in a concerning position with certain language used.
Miranda, please include me in that conversation. I want to make sure we get this right.
Yep.
I could be wrong, but I would think that it has to do with the power of one individual citizen to be able to come and then say, hey, you guys, you did something wrong, and then have more of an ability to come after us rather than having to get, 100 people to sign a petition. And
Right. It stunted our ability to make decisions that maybe needed to happen just because of the nature of the community. And someone could say, well, you came and you violated your intentions, and bring that up in water court, which could put our conditional water rights at risk.
And water court is tricky, very quirky, and you can definitely get yourself hung up.
I'm just wondering, did the attorneys have any big problems with this, or was it just technical language stuff?
Technical language. Our water rights attorney was very shocked that we passed it. Just give it, and that we did not consult him first.
Shocked. Did you say shocked?
Shocked. Yeah, he
Yeah.
found out about it in the newspaper and came and contacted myself and Mayor Larson at the time and was like, you have a problem here. And we had to go back and fix it. So there was more attorney time spent because we had to go back and fix it, which is why I asked the attorneys to look at it now, so we don't have to do that.
Wise.
I had one more thing to add.
Yeah.
So I also met with Mark Stringfellow at the Presbyterian Church, and they are interested in applying for a Charge Ahead Colorado grant for probably one dual port charger. And I've gotten the go ahead to support them in that process. The application will be opening up in October. And if you know of other locations, please let's connect with them. Think about what may need to happen to be ready for the grant, and then we can be ready in October and put in as many applications as we have interest for.
Yeah, maybe that's something to talk to Claudia about at the Tebow Shopping Center.
Absolutely. Good point, Melody. Rich, I'm looking at you.
Sure. I can think of lots of great locations for chargers.
Yeah, let's get together and make a list and then reach out to those folks and see what their interest is. The Charge Ahead grant, it's an 80% coverage and covers up to a certain amount for each type of charger. So we just would have to make sure that these folks are ready to come to the table with, the funds, the 20% that would be needed. Great. That was it.
All right. Anything else from anyone? Janet, thanks for sticking around with us through the power outages and everything. And we can adjourn the meeting at, I closed my 8:31, under 2 hours. Good job, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Janet, we hope to see you again, and please feel free to join us in person at the community center.
Yes, I think I will. I'd like to put a face behind some of these voices. So, yes, thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.